And that's the sort of fish you can catch down your edge. Right, we're back today at Hallcroft for an edge fishing video. This is where it all started for me. This is where all my carp fishing originally started many years ago when it first opened. Actually, the first match that they ever had here I actually took part in. There weren't many carp in there is now, and it certainly wasn't on as big as what we've got here today. So what we're going to do, we're going to go through a few little tips, a few little things and tweaks that I do to try and make your edge fishing better and you catch more fish. Now, edge fishing is really simple. Feed lots of bait, and sometimes not so much bait. Sometimes it's a bit of a softly approach to start with, but quite often I like to feed bait. That's one of the things I love about my edge fishing, putting big potfuls of bait in, sometimes to every fish. And you can actually feed. Sometimes carp fishing is very little and often, but this is proper feeding, and big old units will be catching down edge, some proper things. There's often fish caught in here to 20+ pound. They fight like mad, so some really testing tackle needed, and it takes it to the limit. Now, you don't need a lot of bait, and that's a bit of an understatement. You don't need any new bait, that's what I'm trying to say. You don't need the bait freshly prepared for today. I often say, if I've done a load of micros, I've done far too many, I'll freeze them, put them in my freezer. And today all I've brought with me is leftover from the weekend, a couple of pints of micros. I've probably actually got 3 pints, I've done a pint added to it. So I've put a little pint of micros in to 2 pints, making it 3 pints, 2 pints already wet and a pint of dry that I've soaked with loads and loads of water. 2 or 3 tins of corn that are already out from the weekend, which you're normally chucking down the edge. A few pellets that I've got kicking about, fishery pellets. I brought a few worms for change bait for the hawk. I've got some dead maggots, and I've even got some 3-week-old casters, and they'll be fed to fish as well. They're not choosy, they eat everything that you put in. And I sometimes like to put 8 mils in. Not a lot of people do that. I might swap to just 8 mils. 8 mils are an heavy bait and they sit there and don't move too far. So it's a bit of suck it and see. You never know how they're going to be. Sometimes they're a bit temperamental. So what we're going to do, we're going to run through the rigs, we're going to catch you some fish and show you a few little tricks and secrets that I do to catch you more fish. Right, so I'm just baiting up with 2 pieces of corn. I like to swap and change my baits. Little ball of ground bait on top of my pot. Don't press them in too tight. I put a couple of feed pots in at the start, and I can see there's fish there straight away on top of it. Already starting to have a look. So just pull it back into where I've loaded my feed in, and again straight away I've had a liner and there's fish swirling all over. So there's a fair amount of fish there. What you have to be really careful of is lowering it across the back, so it's best to go straight down. Lower it straight down into hole. Keep it tight to the bank, as tight as you can, so they can't get around the back of you. Oops, and I missed a bite there. There's so many fish there, the float's not still, so it's wait till you get a real positive take. Now there's fish swirling and mooching about everywhere. The float's going sideways. It's nice and patient. Last thing you want to be doing is foul looking at it. And because there's so many fish coming in, you need to regular feed. So if you miss a bite, it's come back in. Oops, that was another foul locker. So it's really difficult at times when they're coming in numbers to differentiate between an actual bite and a liner, because there's so many fish coming in. Quite often as well, they tend to come in straight away on your bait and then back out a little bit. So straight away they come in, so you need to feed every chuck. Lower it down nice and slow, straight line. And quite often there's so many fish there. Quite often they see it drop through the water and have it as it's falling. It's a very, very positive method of fishing. Lots of bait. It doesn't need to be anything particular special, just a lot of it, and feed to every fish, or if you get a bite and the spook right out, the vortex out, you need to feed again to bring them back in, because with the swirl, the vortex have made them gone out, they've moved all the bait and spread it all over your peg. So that's why quite often there's boils everywhere. Again, there's so many fish there. I've had another swirl, so I'm going to feed another pot on it. Now, what they tend to do is come into the bait and just feed, mopping it up, just properly hoovering it up. And when you get one like I've just had there, where there's a massive swirl and it's shot out, it spread that bait all over. So what I need to do is put another pot in and reset the peg. Now, there's nothing clever about it, it's really simple fishing, but you've got to be quite strict on your feeding. After every fish, or every bite, or every big swirl. Now, I've been started on corn. I'm just going to swap and try an even bigger bait. There's 2 dendrobinas. And there's a reason for that. It's a standout bait above everything else, and I love corn, but 2 dendrobinas sometimes is a real killer. Just nip them through the head, and then give them a thrash on water, just one thrash, which stuns them and stops them from riddling themselves off up. A little pot of ground bait, and out we go. So, trap set again. And even though I put a big pot in, I followed it straight in with a pot on my rig. There's fish swirling everywhere. And there we go. Just the bigger bait always seems to make a difference. It's very big, but it's a fish. It's actually a big perch. Amongst all them carp, the first on it is a big perch. And sometimes these boys are like lightning. So what we do is 2 more worms on, reset my trap. So fill my pot up, go back out, and hopefully get them to settle down and not be so mad in the peg. It's carnage down there at the minute. There's swirls and fish everywhere and coming in from all angles, getting at the back of the float, which is really, it looks quite good, but it can be an angler's nightmare. As soon as I drop a ball in, you can see swirls and boils and floats going the wrong way. There's obviously a lot of fish out there, and the one that just had it actually hooked me. And when you're fishing proper kit, I'm fishing 0.25 main and 0.23 hook length to a 12, a really strong 12. You've got some, it's a wide gape, so you've got plenty of power, which you need to tame some of these fish in here. They get very angry, and especially where I'm fishing, because there's reeds just past the next platform. So many people fish tight at reeds, and before you've picked it up, it's in reeds. So there's a first fishing net, a nice common. It's a bit like a cod actually, big head, long body, and not very fat. He's not like us two, like me and Dave. He's not carrying any extra. So what I'm going to do again, I'm going to give him a big pot and then follow it straight in with my Kinderful on my top kit. Now what that does is my pot, my big pot, actually brings them to my peg. And quite often here, they're renowned for coming in, by the time you come back, they're off. So what this does is bring a load in, and my small Kinder focuses an amount of bait right on top where I want them with my feed bait. And one of the things, when you can see fish, everybody thinks there's hundreds there in front of you. The reality is sometimes you may only have 2 or 3 fish that's creating absolute havoc, mooching up and down, feeding on your bait, swirling and boiling, and everybody thinks there's loads there. It's far easier to catch them when you can't see them, just occasionally boil, than to see loads of backs and tails, and because they're usually going to make it really difficult for you. We'll back out again, and again I can see fish there. There's fish swirling on my bait straight away. There's fish swimming around from all directions and into the bay. Floats moving sideways now, and it's really difficult sometimes to wait or tell the difference between a really positive bite. And when you can see tails and backs, and there we go again. Just wait a little bit longer, give them a little bit more time on it. And again, that's trying to take me through them reeds, but I'm not giving him no time. Now quite often this peg is total carnage again. And as you can see, every fish in this lake knows exactly where they want to be. So I'm going to take that off. I've got another rig. I'm going to fish with that. Carnage. I'm just going to swap my top kit. Trouble is, the old fish know there's them reed beds just below you, and even though I'm fishing nowhere near them, these all know where to take you. He knows where they want to go. So I've actually put same rig on, just different elastic. Now hopefully, and it's through a power top kit, so hopefully less elastic means at full stretch there's less to come out, so they'll not be able to get me full into them reeds. That's the method behind it, and this one we'll soon see. Now that elastic that I've been using on that previous rig is my favourite for carp fishing, but when you need something powerful like this, you need a shorter top kit. Elastic, there's not as much to come out, so it can't get you into there now. Hopefully I've just dropped my ball in, follow it in, change my rig on, fishing with heavy elastic and less of it, so hopefully, and then eventually you'll get a full bite. Now, even with this kit, it's trying to read me, but because this is so strong, it can't go any further. It was at full stretch. So it's a bit hard in the mouth fishing, and this isn't a really big fish, but they know they live in them reed beds. And this, when they start to calm down, We'll quickly talk about rigs and lines and stuff like that we use. Everybody has their own preference. Everybody likes their line for whatever reason, but it must be really strong. I like Garbolino Super G Power in at 0.25. It's 12.91 pound. Now, no fish is going to break that unless it takes you into a snag. You've got plenty of strength in it. It's really abrasive resistant. It's really strong line. So my main line's never going to give up on me. It'll pull my elastic apart before it actually breaks this. So that's how strong that is. And that's what you want. You want something where if you need to really pull, it's not going to give up on you. That's my first thing. Down to up length. I always fish with an up length, never fish straight through. But I always start on Garbolino Super G on 20.6. That's 7.94 pound. This is really supple line. I like a supple line, not a really stiff line for this. Don't ask me why, it's just my preference. From when this first came out, I started using it and I love it for my edge fishing. Sometimes I may go stronger, I may go on a 23 in that, but that's only if I'm near snags and really need to pull hard. But they're my two go-to lines. Hooks. I use Garbolino 2430. They're a spade end hook, but really, really strong. They're a blackened hook, really wide gape, little short point, which I like, because you're never going to get your point break off when it's a short, stubby point. These are really seriously strong. So I've never had one of these open out. Down to floats. The two types that I use are DC 02s and DC 45s. That's a DC 02 with a wire sprung side. They're really good for down the edge fishing because they've got the spring eye. It does not, if you lose a fish, it don't pull off and damage your float. These are made of foam, so even if you're tussling and pulling, the line cuts through your paint, it doesn't destroy your float, it will fish out. Now, the only other float they use is that one. As you can see, look at the difference. A lot long, same weight, but a little bit longer, a massively thicker bristle. This is a lot thicker and a lot longer. Now, if you're fishing in deeper water, say 2.5 to 3.5 foot, maybe even 4 foot deep, you want one of these in a 0.6. But I put a rubber on the bristle because this has got no side eye. It's not got a wired eye, it's got a side eye. So I put a bit of proper rubber on and slide it down like that. I don't think it affects how that works when you're fishing down the edges, but it keeps that safe. If you get one that tears off, the hook pulls and it flies back through the water and pulls your bristle out, that stops that from happening and pulls that side eye out. That never happens then. So you need, like I say, you need proper kit, robust, that's going to do its job and not let you down. And them two floats will not let you down. And now on to shots. I never use standard shot. I use little barrel shots like that. Now, yes, they move up and down your line, but they never ping off. They always stay on your line. They may move up, then all you do is pull them back down to my up length shot. Brilliant things, brilliant. And they're made out of lead, so don't damage your line. Your elastics need to be strong and robust. It need to be able to pull them out of the snags and keep control of those fish. Now, I don't like a really mega 24 elastic, anything like that. I like something that's going to have a little bit of give and allow the fish out. Because one thing we do know, the harder you pull carp, the harder they pull back. The big fish in here, so you got to play them a little bit of respect. So I use 5 elastic in a 16 to 18, which is nice and soft but powers up quite well. You can always tighten up your bung end by pulling it through and shortening it down, which gives you a little bit more power. And lots of people do it like that now, because if your fish tears off, it can actually feed itself through and give you a little bit more playing with your fish. That's rigs. So all we need to do now is plumb up, find a nice little flat spot. I'm looking for 18 inches. Anything less than that can sometimes cause you trouble here because it's a sloping bank. And last thing you want is your fish getting behind you, because then you're talking foul hookers. You want it ideally up to a flat, smooth, level bank with an edge down to it. Don't matter whether it's undercut, but a straight run down so you can fish tight up to that edge. If they can get around the back of you, they will do, and you'll foul hook them. Now, I fished this one before. This, I can't find a flat spot tight in. It goes right up to about 8 inches. That's too shallow. Now, you will catch them in 8 inches, but when it looks like you've got 30 or 40 fish, in reality, you've probably got 2, maybe 3. They're a lot easier to catch when you can't really see them, just an odd swirl and a boil. You don't see no tails and no backs. They're always easy to catch, and usually that's in 2 foot of water, 18 inch to 2 foot water in the summer, tight up to banking. Now we're going to move on to your main piece of equipment. There is only one, my pole. Now I use my Garbolino UK1 Evo. This is a brilliant piece of kit. Strong, light, but controls your fish. It's really powerful. It's a good, strong, all-round pole. This does everything I want it to do today. Right, so I've put a 11mm pellet on and sat a little bit over depth and just waited and waited and waited till you get a real positive bite. I don't think it's a monster, but sometimes you don't know. The big old wily fish just don't fight back stupid hard. Usually the ones that fight really hard are the 7-pounders. It's a bit. We'll get one bigger than that, won't we? I'm sure we can find one bigger than that. It's probably £9. I'll put him in just in case. And there you go. We've had a fish. All my shot won't pull him back down to me hook length. I'm going to put another pot in, but I'm going to just put a little bit of corn, heavy bait, and 8mm pellets. And sometimes, like I said, when these fish come in and you get the back of your float and blow your bait everywhere, they will. But with this being heavier bait, there's less chance of it moving. So straight in, and then follow it straight on top. A big old 11mm pellet. Follow it in and then wait for one to pull my elastic out. I can see tail straight away. So lower it straight downward, put my bait, pull my pole tip out of the way so I'm not spooking them with it being so shallow. And wait for a real positive bite. Now anybody who fishes down the edge at these sort of places trying to catch carp, some days people have absolute nightmares with them. Foul looking, losing fish. It's the nature of the beast sometimes. But hopefully some of the little tips like fishing with 11mm pellet and feeding 8 will put you more fish in your nets at the end of the day. And because I do a 11mm pellet line, I always set 2 rigs up. Like I said, one with the pellet and one with the, for Hallcroft it's a 12. And for corn or worms, sometimes 2 worms is really good, and I'll try that in a minute just to see. Just keep working my bait, just lift it up and lower it down. I can see shadows and carp everywhere. Now, if you didn't know any better, you set yourself, what am I doing wrong? What's happening? What's wrong? Nothing's wrong. Just sometimes these are quite happy just coming in, sucking like micros from a distance, and they don't take big baits up, so you never really know. Every day is a learning day when you're doing this. Right, I'm just swapping 2 worms. There's plenty of fish in my peg that they've been really tormenting me. If you've seen Harry Potter and the Tormentors, this is what it's like tonight. But they will settle down and we'll start to catch a few and put a few fish together. There has been a match on here in day as well, so they've had quite a bit of bait thrown at them. And I've dropped it in and it's pulled my elastic out. Now, when I say I'm fishing well balanced kit, I've had a fish come off that's broke me, so I'll put on an 023, and what I can tell you is 023 makes no difference to 020, 021 or whatever it is. All you want is it well balanced, strong and reliable. Now the one that lost me might have been because the first fish went through reeds, round bit reeds. We got him out. I mean, this isn't a big fish, but he come really quick. So, nice common. Two worms on me to 12. I better get my discordia out. Not that it's deep, it's just I can't see me hook in its side. There we are, another little fish. It'd be £9 I would have thought. So you're not long when they come as quick as that. And I tell you what, I'm that tight, I'm not even going to change the worms. Look at them, beauties. But I will do is give them another pot and hopefully reset my trap. Some old micros, a few corn and a few 8mm on top. And I said at the very start, you don't need fresh bait specially prepared for edge fishing. You can put your old ground bait in, your old corn, maggots, whatever you want to put in. So we put 2 more worms on again. Hopefully this is a big fish to end the day on. Nice slow pressure to bring him in. We've had a cracking day. Just a couple of hours. Feeding micros, topping up with corn. And the occasional 8mm pellet in my pot. Just keeps the fish coming in. There's a lot of fish there, like I said. Sometimes they're a bit awkward, a bit temperamental, but constant feeding and well balanced kit will get you what you want. Some beautiful fish like that to end the day with. Beautiful black old common. Right, it's last one at day. We've had a lovely couple of hours, caught some big fish. We've lost a few big fish, but one of the things it proves is when you're not on best peg for fishing down edge, which this isn't, it has one advantage. This peg has got loads of fish that live here, but because your edge is tapering away and it's going under the roots, you can't get tight to a level edge, so they're getting around back of you, but it makes it for interesting fishing. You can try things that's going to work in this type of peg, change your feeding, hook baits, how often you feed, how heavy you feed, and sometimes just being patient, because when you're catching fish as big as this, you don't need to be rushing. And we're going to finish on this one. That's going to be a lovely fish to finish on. And there you go. And that's the sort of fish you can catch down your edge. Right, that's the end of a couple of hours at Hallcroft edge fishing. It's been really good. It's been difficult at times. I've foul-hooked a few fish, made a few changes that work. I've fed it a little bit different and tried a few things. What we need to talk about to end this is things that you need with you. The type of kit that you need. Short, strong kits with really strong, powerful elastic. These are and white. I love white top kits for fishing down edge. Does it make a difference? I believe so. But when you're fishing in a foot deep with these big old wily fish, a top kit out at way that's not casting a shadow of it, I think makes a difference. So strong top kits with strong elastic. Really strong line. 0.25. 0.23 main line I've ended up using. I lost a fish that was a really big fish that was, I think it was foul. But you don't want failures when you're doing this in a competition. Bait for the edge. Anything, really. You could keep it for weeks in your freezer and just bring it with you every match and put it back in your freezer. Old ground bait, old pellets, micros, old corn, dead maggots, whatever you want. Sometimes they want corn. Now the reason I use 3 corn is because it's a big heavy bait and stops where you put it. Sometimes they're quite happy having big bunches of maggot, 10 or 12 maggots, which is a big bait but very light that wafts about in front of the face that cause them to snatch at it. Sometimes 2 big dendras is as good as anything, providing you're not pestered with perch and silvers. And at the end of the day, an 11mm pellet often works, a banded 11mm pellet, because again it's a big bait, the silvers can't get it, and it just stands out on the bottom and it's an heavy bait. So bait choice, go through it all. Some days it's one, some days other, some days it doesn't matter. How you feed it can have a big bearing. Big pot, I always big pot. The only variation to that is it a full pot or half a pot? That's the only thing I choose to do. After every bite, if you've had a bite and one spooked out your peg, pot in again, set the table, put your steak on the table and wait for your carp to come in. Because one thing's for sure, if it's shot off, it's scattered your bait over a big area. So set your table again, put another pot full on and fish with your bait inside that pot and wait for one to come along. Then it's just a matter of either being patient, continually lifting and lowering sometimes works. Whatever you do, don't lay it in. Because if you lay it in, there's no word of a lie, it'll always be across one's back. So lower your float straight down and your bait straight down, straight on top of your bait, and wait for it to be pulled in. So that's the end to a lovely day's fishing. We've had some good fish. We've only been a couple of hours. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe to the YouTube channel. I'll see you on the bank. Tight lines, everybody.